Greetings, everyone. It's working today. Welcome.
Hello, here we are.
Here we are. So Crystal and I met here yesterday to do a live. So we're going to be looking at the cards together and answering your questions. And yesterday there was a tech glitch with StreamYard and YouTube, and we weren't able to go live. Apparently it happened right at the exact moment we were starting to go live, and StreamYard was getting all these notices that people weren't able to go streaming onto YouTube. So Mercury retrograde glitch, our apologies. Here we go. So we've got some questions from yesterday. We're going to start with those. And for those of you that haven't met my daughter, Crystal, this is my daughter, Crystal.
Hello, everyone. So exciting to be here.
Yeah. We've been, sharing this journey for a long time. Crystal has mentored with me for many, many years and is really stepping out into combining her career as a consciousness coach with her work as an intuitive guide, and particularly her divination practice using cards like the tarot and oracle cards. So we're going to do more of a big launch for Crystal down the road here a little bit when Mercury goes direct.
Yeah.
But for today, we're just coming together to do this live. Sue's not available. She'll be with us. She'll be back with us next week. And I've also got another special guest coming on the following week. So you're going to be seeing a bit of a rotation on these Wednesday live Q&As. So let's get started with our first question. Hi, Angela. Let's get started with our first question from yesterday because it was a good one.
It was a great one. So our first question yesterday was from Sparkle. For those of us that were emotionally and mentally attacked just before the eclipse, how can we best heal from this narcissistic attack?
Wow, what a great question. And, so many people, hi, Valerie, so many people have been expressing that the eclipse brought up really big shadow material, especially just in the days and week or two beforehand. I mean, we're seeing shadow material coming up, like popping like popcorn everywhere, both personally and collectively. However, this portal that was around the eclipse was so potent, and it really got things going. It really elevated things. And there's a real sense of an aftermath with that as well. So it was both the positive in terms of clearing energy, and the guides are saying holding a mirror up to what we need to look at, as well as there was some painful processes in that. So Crystal's shuffling on behalf of all of us. Let's tune in with her. Yeah, thank you, Valerie.
Yeah.
How are things going to pan out for the next month in Europe and the UK? Okay, we'll get to that. We've got a couple of questions from yesterday that were really good ones. So I want to start with those, and then we'll jump into your questions for today.
So let's look at this attacking type energy before the eclipse. And I do want to speak to also what Sparkle said a little bit as well, but let's start with that.
And we've got a different deck here. I'm going to bring, I actually felt today that it was important to not use my deck from before the eclipse. So we brought out one of my spare decks. But it's not the bright Rider-Waite. It's more of the kind of more neutral colors of the Rider-Waite. Next week, I'll have another bright one to work with, because I realize they don't show up so colorfully when we do the layouts for the camera here.
Wow. Okay.
Oh gosh. So Crystal, you have your first go at this, and tell us what you're seeing here.
Well, I mean, so this is really interesting to me. Like, it's quite a gateway that we went through during the eclipse, and we were, especially leading up to that, there was a lot of energy that was coming through it, and there was a real big purpose in it of waking up our deepest inner desires as well. And there was a lot of that around the eclipse. It was like, it's like it's like being the solar eclipse, it's like one of those really heightened, almost new moon type energies where you really want to bring into it your deepest desires. And those, as we bring forward those deepest desires, it brings up a lot of our greatest wounds as well. And so the sun, really shines a light on all of that. And when we bring the dark across, we really are shown a lot of the shadow sides of what we carry. And when this card comes up for us, it's the collective wound card. And so that really says to me that a lot of people were quite possibly quite affected in that way. And their biggest wounds were coming forward on display. In kind of like, do you see that, Mom? Are you getting anything from?
Yeah. I mean, interesting. We've got us being the fool. So we are at the point in our evolution where it's sort of like there's nothing to hang on to anymore. We have to free fall a little bit. We have to let go and trust the process. And what we're coming up against with this emperor, because this position is us, and this position is the answer to the question, how do we heal the effects of being attacked over this eclipse time? And I want to say what this brings up for us is all the ways that we've been attacked. This isn't just this attack. This is all the attacks. The emperor can have some positive attributes, but when he's right beside the devil card here, they're bringing out the worst in each other, let's say. So he's about power and dominance in his shadow. And the devil is about stirring up the shadow. The devil is about, like, it's the medicine that gets things, like, stirs the pot and gets things going.
Yeah.
It's not a bad card. It's just a troublesome card, because it means that things are going to get kind of stirred up, right? It's like the stuff that you're trying to hide, it's going to bring out the stuff you're trying to hide.
Yes. And that in turn, like over here as well, we're coming into this, and it's kind of throwing us for a bit of a loop, and it's also maybe a little bit exhausting as all of this comes forward. This is the burnout card, so we're a little exhausted by all of it, and I totally agree with what Mom was saying there. This really speaks to me of what Sparkle said about the narcissistic attack. And when I first heard that yesterday, I really felt like, of course, this word narcissism is really big in our vocabulary nowadays. And as a conscious evolver coach, we really cover that a lot, actually. And I think we all have narcissistic tendencies to a certain extent, some more than others, depending on their trauma and wounds and how they were brought up. But this really speaks to me of like the collective underbelly of narcissism, and how we really can be, like Mom said, those mirrors for each other. And I think sometimes if we're stepping forward in the light, it shines that light, like I said again, on people's darkness, and that's what comes out in them, right? And so it works in both ways, but this really feels to me like narcissism.
It does.
Yeah.
Especially beside that emperor.
Especially beside the emperor, because it comes under in this very kind of patriarchal, dominant kind of I'm priority, my way is the way type of energy.
Definitely. And look at this over here, right? Like
big feminine healing over here. This is like the final judgment call on this type of situation, on this type of a dynamic, because it's meant to bring in this deeper feminine healing to our world and our system and to this collective wound. If we bring this in over here, this is what we're really, this is our true wish fulfilled here. And this is the wish fulfilled card.
It is. And what do you make of that being in the center?
Well, I mean, like I said, like I feel like that eclipse brought this gateway of our, like I said, our deepest desires coming up, and what are these wishes that we're fulfilling, right? And so when we get into these uncomfortable places with people or feel attacked, what are they attacking? Are they attacking our deepest desires? Like, right?
Or are they attacking the part of us that's blocking us from our deepest desires? Like, to me, if we can look at narcissism as a medicine, when we see it outside of us, it really hurts, right? It's not a nice thing. And often, have you ever noticed, because this is the burnout card, narcissists are worse when they're burned out. And we often draw narcissism to us when we are burned out, when, sort of like kick them when they're down feeling. And we could say, well, this is just the worst case scenario. Like we've had experiences personally in the last couple of weeks where it's like, how did we create these perfect storms that are almost unbelievable? Right? It's like, and to me, instead of saying, what on earth am I doing wrong? Because I'm making the biggest mess I've ever made, or, it just looks so ugly.
Or vice versa, blaming it all on, being we're the victim and somebody's attacking me.
Yeah, what we see in the world, right? That it looks the worst it's ever looked. And yet often that darkest hours before the dawn, and there's that it's showing us the last residue. It's almost like what's stuck to the bottom of the pot. When you clean the pot and you got that goo stuck to the bottom, you scrape and scrub and scrub. That's what this is doing. This is like we're at that residue, but it's the stuff that's keeping us from actualizing.
Like Valerie says here, we can be our own worst enemies with security sabotage and self-sabotage. She said, but I agree with the security sabotage. Like we really are. Like a lot of what this brings up for us is our security and our safety, right? And that's what's being challenged. But lastly over here, how can we really strategize differently by celebrating the ways that we really show up for ourselves, the ways that like maybe the response to that sparkle when you hear this, maybe the response to that, how can you celebrate how maybe you did it a little, how you might have responded a little differently, or how you could respond a little differently in the future, and just find the little ways that we are really succeeding right now, that we are really really strategizing differently, and that the eclipse may have brought up a bit of that energy of about how do you respond to these things differently now.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's something about, seeing this as an opportunity for growth, and this little, the baby steps with the 6 of Wands. That 6 of Wands is the top card there, and 7 of Swords underneath it. As Crystal said, strategizing, little baby steps of strategy to, gain some traction, even if you just do an incremental better job than you did last time. Yeah, self-correcting. It's beautiful. Deadbeat, debonair, narcissism is really just a form of boisterous ego. It's an expert at drawing out the remnants of the ego out of us as well, which can make it easier to work on it from within. Yeah, we see. And it's very humbling and a little bit embarrassing, right? Like, I'm like, I have been doing all this work for all these years. And both Crystal and I, we've been working on ourselves and taking all these courses and doing all this self-development and personal healing. And now we're at the bottom scrubbing out the really yuckiest, stickiest parts. And it's like, this is so humiliating and embarrassing, because it's like, how did I attract that? Or how did I respond like that? To something that shouldn't get my goat, it shouldn't get me that upset, and yet it's showing me, Shala, look, all this you're doing, but that little part that is not healed can create, one bad apple, right? And spoil the whole bunch, because it potentially is a weak spot. And we're wanting to see our weak spots now. We want to see our blind spots, right? Beautiful. Okay. Thank you. Let's go to the next question from yesterday. Thank you, Crystal. Sure. I'll shuffle this time.
For us. Okay. And then there was a response to that where someone said, my manager accused me of clocking into work at the, okay. Oh, no, that wasn't the question. My apologies. Okay, let's see here.
We're reading off the comments from, we took a screenshot of them yesterday, just because we wanted to honor that some of you showed up and waited for like 15, 20 minutes with us yesterday.
Okay. So just got my power gas bill, $672. When do you see this ending? Thousands won't be able to afford to pay. Isn't that just gross?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry to hear that. Lorna Beebe.
Yeah. Thank you, Lorna, for your question.
Thank you.
And let's have a look.
Important.
Have some answers to that. You want to go ahead, Crystal? Thanks.
Yeah.
Aw,
Yeah,
hi, Thasia. Aw, Thasia's here.
Hi, love. Nice to see you.
Yeah,
Thank
definitely.
you for joining us.
Oh gosh, right? Look
Yeah,
at that.
definitely. I mean,
looking good. It looks good on the first take. Oh, and the sun's there too.
So
can I just jump in and comment on this right away?
Yes, of course. Okay.
Okay. Did you hear that? No. So this is the Wheel of Fortune and the sun. I want to even say, can you guess, everybody? We're talking about free energy here. We're talking about free energy. It is right. It's imminent. It is right around the corner. And once this gains traction, it's like good luck. Good luck stopping it is what I'm getting. You know, part of why the cabal and the controllers were so good at stopping and blocking things along the way is because they still had a lot of control of the narrative, say 90% control of the narrative. Well, right now they're hovering around 40 to 50% control of the narrative. So, you know, you just can't kibosh and block things when you don't have consensus, enough majority, right? They don't have a majority of the consensus of reality anymore. So these free energy, 0 point energy, this stuff is coming.
Yeah.
And they won't be able to, they'll block it. There'll be a lot of shenanigans and a lot of like things blocked and challenged and this and that. They're going to put implement every way to stop it, but they won't succeed in stopping it, is what I'm trying to say. They'll slow it down and they'll, you know, have to reroute it. We'll have to reroute around it for I don't know how long. But basically this, I want to say, just from looking over here at the 10 of Pentacles, you know, I feel like within the decade, we will be completely off all of these systems. So
it's so interesting because it, I heard so much while you were saying all that, but like the way that they get us is they get us to get ourselves. Like it's like this is
like a game.
Yeah, like we really feel trapped by it. They make us feel trapped. And that's and so they kind of have us under their thumb, right? And so what I see is that this actually, you know, the more that they push and the more that they squeeze us, the more it actually lights a fire under us. And it brings up this deep grief.
Yeah.
And this is the heart surgery card. It brings us this deep grief inside of us that actually pushes us to look at the greater picture of possibilities out there. And that is actually what they've done, is they're actually pushing us to think this way, to create this way, to do the work, to step out of being these victims, to step out of being this victim here, and to actually force us to create something different, and like show them that we're not prisoners of this game that they're playing here.
Yeah. It's interesting because around energy and alternative energy, our family has a, connection to that for the last probably 30 odd years. Because my former husband he worked in electrical engineering. And of course, he ended up working up in oil and gas because he tried to go the route of alternative energies about 30 years ago. And it was so blocked and so challenging. It was just like there were literally hurdles at every step. And the biggest hurdle was mass consensus. People weren't willing to invest they were like, I'll just pay my monthly bill. I'm not going to pay, whatever, $10,000 to set up a whole new system. It's more convenient, or I just can't, I don't have enough faith, or I don't feel. So it's like people didn't weigh in. They didn't invest in it years ago. And so it was easy to continue to pull people in the direction of the dominant narrative had a lot of sway. But like Crystal's saying here, this makes it so that the majority of people are going to say, no, heck no. What do we need to do? Can we get together as a group of people and set up in our little, cul-de-sac or our 3 or 4 houses or whatever? Can we buy in an alternative system and invest in that? Because over the course of even a decade, it's going to more than pay for itself. And then we're living, basically energy, free energy after that. So it's literally, as Crystal was saying, it's pushing us to the point where we are saying we're going to vote with what we are willing to invest in. Yeah. So if you're sitting in that place of this, look at this, 2 of Wands, looking out at the next 2 years, the next 5 years, the next 20 years, and planning how you're going to strategize, you may want to reconsider staying connected to the current energy system. And every time people opt off grid, new alternative energies, each person that finds a solution, like to start unplugging, literally start unplugging that, well, that takes the rug out from under that dominant paradigm. And it literally puts that resource, the ability to live by the energy that we are able to capture through more natural sources. Miles to go.
Mom has a lot to say on this.
I do.
I don't know if you noticed, but there's going to be, I think, some big offerings, down the line coming from you on a lot of these topics, because this has been, you've been really diving into this, like you said, for years, and there's a lot to say about it, and there's a lot to do about it, and we need to be aware of that in ourselves and know that this is not just it's not a black and white thing. There's so much possibility here, and we will survive through it. And I see finally on this side of it here too, the 10 of Swords here, this real at the end of your rope but surrendered card, right, is really coming in with the Queen of Pentacles, is calling for us to, when we feel like we're really stuck, can we get out into nature? Can we learn, instead of how can I make necessarily more money, because that's important too, but how can I find the resources that are available to me through the natural system? That's where we're being asked to look, is how do we create our own resources in that, and we're really being pushed to that place of how learning other skills.
Yeah, that's so interesting, Crystal, because it's almost like the more cut off we are from nature, the less likely we are to just naturally say, I know nature has these resources and we can harness them differently. without these, extractive industries that are just so devastating environmentally and not sustainable in the long term. We have all this technology that's been hidden. And what I love about it too is that there's a variety of choices. There's so many different options. It's not a one size fits all. I love what Ricky's saying. Humans have a biofield energy.
Mm-hmm.
Valerie, 20 years ago, I wanted to install thermal energy, but was opposed to it as it was too expensive. So like if we demand that these systems are subsidized, and that's what I'm getting, we're going to start seeing subsidies.
Mm-hmm.
And play this environmental, carbon neutral green program at its own game. Like play it, say, hey, you want us carbon neutral? Let's get us some alternative energy technologies.
Yeah.
And we want it now.
Yeah.
And we want to be subsidized to pay for it. We want subsidy to install these things. So this is what we are actually out, sort of promoting and demanding, is that we transition off these systems. And public demand is very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
So just saying, oh, I want a carbon rebate to help pay my gas bill or my electric bill is not necessarily the best way to, advocate for change. Probably a better advocacy is I want a new system installed. So what we're demanding, they're saying, go for it. Go for the big one. Go for the free energy. Demand that, pound the pavement about that. And don't just ask to be sort of carried along or supported along this old system that's going out anyway.
Yeah. And keep talking about it. Thank you, Lorna, for bringing it up. Because we can talk all day long about what they're doing and that we have to demand this or whatever, but I'm so solutions oriented, and I always find that it's really important when we have these big conversations. Like it's hard to have these big conversations without having a lot of solutions and getting out there and making this change and all of that kind of stuff. It's like we have to keep talking about, how do we do that?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they're all powerful concepts, and then getting these think tanks together, getting into our communities and being like, this is what's coming up for me. These are some of my solutions. What's coming up for you? And what are your solutions? And that's where there's power in numbers. We're not just demanding, but we're also providing solutions and possibilities of how it looks different in starting in our little communities and then branching out. So
thank you, Crystal. And
rock and roll.
Look at this. 2 of Wands is the future. Well, I can't imagine a more future card, a better future, because it's the big overview card. It's where you have a high vantage point to see all the possibilities. And also looking around, you see how this character's holding, I don't know if you can see, he's got the world in his hand. Do you see that? He's looking at the world. It's like the world is your oyster. And also looking at if you look, just take a scope around the world at different systems that are already in place, kind of like pilot projects in small communities or whatever. Like that's where the more we focus on, as Crystal was saying, the solutions, and the world is at our doorstep. The world is at our fingertips with our computers. So do your research and start talking about this stuff on the platforms. Start getting excited about this, because the world is really in our hands. And in a way, these very painful bills are showing us that it's just another reminder that the old system is no longer sustainable. It's like it's just driving that point home, driving it home. And
maybe that's the point. Maybe we need to be driven like that. Maybe we need to be pushed in that way and that far as a collective whole. So who knows? Maybe they're doing all the right things and we don't even know it.
Oh, Michael said an interesting thing. Did anyone stop to think maybe the only power they have left is being provided by us talking about them?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So
that's exactly kind of what I was saying. I was like, like there's a lot of people talking about all the things that they're doing to us, and how, like, let's flip that narrative and say, okay, if we're going to talk about all the things that they're doing to us, these are all the things that are possibilities of what,
a response,
how we can respond.
And I hear your frustration, Michael, with the show. These shows have been the same for 3 years. I don't know if you've been coming to my show for 3 years, but I definitely talk a lot more. I don't just talk about what's wrong. I talk a lot about how I see the transition into a different paradigm. And it's not about waiting for, a white hat to come and rescue us or us, whatever. It's not like this spiritual bypassing, put your head in the sand and see unicorns and rainbows. It's really about there are alternatives, and I've been practicing awake truther in looking at alternative paradigm systems for almost 40 years. So I got a lot to share, but it's really about me waiting for people to be really ready to work in that way of setting down new paradigm platforms, and as Crystal said, discussions and education formats. So there's a lot. You were the one with the big picture. Yeah, thank you. So I am feeling, Lauren, I'm feeling very awake, but my empathic side is feeling for those that will struggle. Okay, beautiful. Do we have one more from yesterday?
Yes. Last one from yesterday here. Now that the eclipse is behind us, how has the energy shifted? Is there a peaceful timeline and a scary timeline? Did enough people meditate on peace and love and joy during the eclipse?
Okay. I already have a feeling about that, but I'm really curious to say what the cards are going to say. Would you shuffle them, Crystal?
Yeah, absolutely.
And we've got 2 more questions from today coming in.
Yeah.
So, Michael, we need to laugh more.
Absolutely.
Yes. So I did my first attempt at a little comedy show, and it's up on Rumble, but the comedy is that I now have 2 Rumble platforms that have the same name, and one has all my followers and the other one has no followers. And it's such a Mercury retrograde puzzle. So I'm in the process of sorting all that out right now, but there is a trailer that will take you to this one of the Rumble platforms where the full show is. And I'm going to be doing more comedy stuff down the road and inviting other comedians in. So look forward to a bit of that fun where we look at some serious topics, and we look at, obviously the stuff that's up front and center in the news headlines and stuff, but we look at it from this comedic angle, which is really about almost being willing to see the irony of it all, right? It's the juxtapositions are just so wild. And this light and dark question around the eclipse, like, did we do it? Have we succeeded in clearing enough that we've shifted? So this is us, 5 of Cups, and did we do it? Queen of Wands, 2 of Cups. Ooh, that's nice. Say 2 of Cups, 3 of Cups, and the 8 of Pentacles. The 8 of Pentacles again, and 9 of Swords. Okay. I'm so curious what you're getting about this, Crystal. You got the 10 of Cups and the Page of Cups over here. And
Temperance and the King of Pentacles over here.
Ooh.
Go ahead, Mama.
Well, we're, like Crystal said before, it's almost like, you get out. I don't know, for some reason they're showing me hiking Mount Everest. I've never attempted that. I have done some big hikes and big sort of, a little bit of climbing, but they're saying it's almost like once you get you look at the mountain from far away, it's like, oh yeah, it's so big and it's going to be so daunting. And then you get up to it and you look up and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to be able to do this, right? It's just this like, are you kidding me? And yet it's the journey as well as the destination.
Mhm.
So what I'm getting is the closer we get to the further along this journey we get, in a way, the more likely it is that we can feel the despair of what a big journey it is.
Yeah.
Because when we're just speculating about it from a distance, it's just hypothetical. But now we're in it, and it's real, and it's sad, kind of, right?
Well, it's interesting because Pumpkin Spice here was talking about playing with sound healing frequency and running a sound healing center, and Valerie responded with loving sound healing. It's so powerful. And we actually went to a big sound healing on the eclipse, on the day of the eclipse. And for me personally, I literally sat there and lamented and like went into massive, weird victim consciousness the whole time. And I couldn't shift out of it. And I was like, this is not working for me. And yet that's kind of what it felt like, what Mom was talking about. Like, I encourage people to really have compassion for, maybe if they weren't really feeling in the light during this experience, and maybe they couldn't find themselves meditating on the positive, because what came up for me in all of that was that all the ways that I needed to be looked at, all of my shadow and my wounding was like, boom, right there on the surface for me to see in a really clear way. And it was almost like the sound and the vibration brought it all up for me. And I was like, I should be peaceful, I should be positive, I should be light, and I'm not feeling it. Why? And so I really have compassion for myself and for those of you that may not have been able to be in that place at that pivotal time.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. The compassion, right?
There's self-healing.
Compassion and love for self and the other. So what it did bring people to a neutral point. It's eclipses are a little bit like the solstices and the equinoxes. They're sort of like this pause and a neutral point, but in a way they're more powerful. So it was this neutral point around emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So even if people are worried in their minds, anxious, they came into their hearts. I had people telling me that we're in the path of totality and experienced like the visuals and just the metaphysical experience of having that happening right in front of them and around them. It's like it did open people's hearts. So I feel like the answer overall, because we got this Queen of Wands as the answer, is yes. Even if you can't sustain it, even if it's still, you had this moment and then you're like, oh, now I'm sad again. Or like Crystal said, maybe the stimulation of that brought more deep grief to the surface. Mm-hmm. Miles to go. Keep going.
Keep doing the work.
Keep going. Yeah. Because we're, I'm getting an 80% here. 8 of Pentacles. We are 80%. Most of you watching and listening are 80% along the way. And so there's more potential for this. There's more coming. This is like this eclipse is part of a series of openings and gifts coming towards us. Yeah. I want to say this year and in the next 3 to 5 years.
It was a new beginning in that way. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. Something did shift there because there was something new that was brought in the form of a gift that I hear, a gift that keeps on giving.
It's interesting when I look over here at this Page of Cups and 10 of Cups. What I'm sensing is there was a birth of the inner child in all of us in this eclipse. And you think about a child coming into your life, like having a baby or having a grandchild. And have you ever noticed you can be having struggling in yourself and going through a lot, but having that being around a child, a baby, all of that innocence, it does tend to bring out the best in us. So you can put aside your distress and your anxiety and, you know, play patty cake, go for a walk in the park, play a game, read a story, read a fairy tale. Like you can, when we're around children, we allow ourselves to step out of all of this artificiality and back into our hearts. And to me, that's what this has done.
Yeah, this is also really encouraging us to celebrate together. Yeah, like we don't, like, if it's possible, don't go through it alone. Come together and make some time to play and celebrate, whether it's with children, you know, with your dear friends, girlfriends, whatever it looks like. It's calling in a new, that unity of self, that healing that we're doing in ourselves allows us to come together with other people and celebrate and share in a new way, in a new light. And there is that deep healing that's happened over here. So
beautiful.
So yes, short answer.
Well, we like to go into the details. How can you know Crystal's mentored with me all these years? It's like you just dive in. You dive in and there's so much to see. I want to say I'm noticing something here. Pam Gregory, Michael says, Pam Gregory's show said the eclipse separated the Pisces fish who were dolphin lovers. Very fascinating, because we were just talking about the energy of Pisces this morning. And we were talking about that I spoke to one of my clients yesterday who was talking about a channel. Don't remember if it was an Arcturian or what it was, but anyway, they were describing how we're going to be healing the earth. The earth is going to be healing us through our feet chakra. The chakras in the bottom of our feet. And then I was remembering that at an event, we were at a metaphysical event in November, and I was speaking with an astrologer, and she said that the next 2 years we were going to be healing the chakras in the bottom of our feet. We were going to be focusing a lot on the connection between our feet and the earth. So I feel like this is an invitation as well. This you know, Pam Gregory saying this was the point where the Pisces energy got literally opened up and expanded, and Pisces rules the feet. That's the placement in terms of the body systems. Pisces is around the feet. So there's something about our connection to the earth with our feet at this time. And I was just actually thinking this morning that I want to create like a little short, like a little short course on this, because it's something that I've been also working with for many years is, you know, healing through grounding through our feet on the earth. Okay, I want to go back now to some questions from earlier. So there was one about Europe. Let me just see if I can find it.
Thank you so much, everybody, for commenting and bringing your questions to us. They're absolutely beautiful.
Let's see if I can find it. Oh gosh, where I need a moderator.
Okay.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
It was somewhere right around here.
Narrative. The narrative turn.
Nope, that was it. It was a little bit further along. If you had that question about Europe and the EU, please post it again. I'll keep looking for that. Let's go to the other question that was a little bit further on down. I'll look for that one. But we just had one down here. Let's see. Sorry about this, folks. A moderator would be helpful. Yeah.
That's what we usually have to see for.
Yeah.
Yeah. So nice. Yeah.
So sound healing. We're talking about playing with healing frequency. Oh, thank you for the comment on the comedy show. Yeah. So Gosh, if you had posted a question and we haven't got to it yet, please put it back down at the bottom. I thought that I could remember them all, but apparently that's been challenging. Yeah, Crystal, do you want to maybe just pull a couple of cards on what Spirit wants us to know at this juncture?
Absolutely.
So, yeah. Well, we've talked about narcissism and balancing of dark and light. Oh, here it is. How are things going to pan out for the next month in Europe and the UK? There it is. I found it. Yay. Okay.
I'm going to get Mom to shuffle on it.
Okay. Thank you.
I was just warming them up then.
Tuning in. All right. Yeah. So I have something else I want to share just before we close off today too. So I hope there's time for that, because I had a very fascinating dream yesterday, and I don't know how that relates to Europe and the UK. Pick one, Crystal.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one I was going to pick.
Yeah, that's usually how we go. All right, let's look at this. Europe and the UK.
The next month. Things going to pan out in the next month for Europe and the UK. Look at that. 2 nights.
Ooh, yeah.
So mastering in the, like, staying on track with the mission. Whoa. Okay, we're both like, wow. We've got the Hermit and the Devil side by each here, and the Moon and the World. And we've also got the Star. So those are their major arcana. Gosh.
Pretty major.
Pretty major. So you go first, Crystal, this time. What are you sensing?
Well, I mean, interestingly, like there definitely is, again, we have the little step, the baby steps here and small victories along the way. So that's us in that position, or Europe and the UK in that position.
Mm-hmm.
So really, I mean, it is winning. There are victories that are happening, certainly over the next month, and there is, you know, it's the little wins are emotionally healing for you too. Like it's again another gateway.
Oh, beautiful! I love that. Yeah, like there, you may not feel the big raha, right? You know, and we're certainly not out of the woods here.
No.
And you may not feel the big raha.
I think this is the stir. Like, I think that this is like something is happening, you know, whatever is happening in Europe and the UK, they're having this internal sort of battle going on right now. Like it is, because this is a really internal card, the Hermit, right? And so that it's like the underground systems are actually
coming to the surface.
Coming
like
to the surface,
more
and
and more
their...
of that shadow material is coming up. Yeah, really. Do you get this feeling that this is something political, or is this personal, or both?
I think it's political.
Yeah, I do too. But
I mean, it's always both.
It's always both.
It's
right?
always both,
yeah,
because I mean, we're all in this. So
I have to say this, all, you know, putting these two cards together, I say sometimes this story, you know, in the Lord of the Rings and Gandalf and the Balrog or whatever it's called, and that moment where it's like, oh, you start to feel like you're getting there. Like, I mean, he basically said, you shall not pass. And, you know, the Balrog goes over the cliff and it's like, oh, everything's great. And Gandalf turns around and be like, okay, we're good. We're out of the woods. And that last little bit of the tail of the Balrog destabilizes it. So it feels like, you know, there's so much has been won already, you know, maybe 60% won. There's still battles, and there's, you know, the political forces that are most in alliance with dark force energy still have some tricks up their sleeve, is what I'm getting. So they're still got some pretty heavy hands to play. But again, you know, forewarned is forearmed. So it's both keeping your eye on the goal and the victories, paying attention to those little victories, and also keeping your eye open for this destabilizing. And instead of, you know, if you think about what was that last little bit of the Balrog's tail that pulled, like, you know, if Gandalf would have just been there and waiting for that and been like, just pushed it away, it would have been gone, dealt with. It was the fact that Gandalf had turned his attention away and was literally like, thought it was over. That's why it got him. So this to me feels like we need to keep it doesn't have a lot of power left, but it's got a lot of, I want to say, venom left. It's like, it's at its, you know, in its death throes, it's at its worst, in a way, its ugliest, but it doesn't have a lot of power. So we're so far through this. Continue to focus on winning the war and, you know, not being so fixated on every little battle, continue looking at the big picture.
Big picture.
Yeah.
Big picture.
So I hope that's helpful. Yeah. And any other questions? I'm going to look down here. I feel like there was one. Yeah. Look at the taxes in Canada, burden with the tax. And Michael asked a question.
What will become of Pierre Poilievre
now that his wife was exposed? Okay. Yeah, let's look. Can we ask if we really have to wait for the election for the RV as well?
Okay, so these are all pretty intertwined.
Except for the RV and the election question. So let's look at the Canada questions first. I'm going to shuffle again, and then you can find the piles if that's okay. Crystal.
Absolutely, right ahead.
So we've got Pierre Poilievre. I always have a hard time pronouncing that name. And also, yeah, what was it? Taxes in Canada. Mm-hmm. I feel like that question was on there yesterday too. So. Let's do 3 cards.
Yeah.
One for Pierre Poilievre, one for taxes in Canada. And then there was a third one about Trudeau. So let's look at those 3. You want to do the 3 piles? Yeah. Taxes in Canada. Taxes in Canada here. There. Ooh, nice. Oh, okay. Taxes in Canada is the World, the Page of Swords, and the 6 of Pentacles, and Trudeau. Oh, that's weird. Okay, we'll cover that when we get there. So this one is taxes in Canada. This is Pierre Poilievre, and this is Trudeau. There was a question about Trudeau. So actually, I got to go there first because isn't that weird? What do you think? We've got the King of Pentacles, the 4 of Wands, and the Knight of Cups. Okay. You know, butter wouldn't melt in his mouth is the words that are coming to me. There's something like, is it whatever this character is, whether it's really him or who this is, there's really, I get almost like a makeover.
Yeah, he's really coming at it. Like he really plays the angle of like romanticizing you, you know, with like, you know,
smooth talk.
and like, oh yeah, we're so well resourced, like this is what we're doing with the money, and really kind of like painting this picture. And he really like plays on that part.
Yeah. So whoever this is, and whatever side they're on, basically we're seeing this character is getting a makeover, and they're going to try a whole new angle to like make him look like, rose-colored glasses around that. So knowing that, like, it's like, obviously, right? He's needing a complete campaign makeover, because like kind of down the tube. So we just know that that's happening. And we don't need to make any big decisions around that right now, but we need to sort of recognize that that's what's being attempted at this point. There's a lot of backpedaling and a lot of like trying to smooth things over and fix what was said in the past and all this kind of stuff. Like, I didn't say that. I didn't say radical Christian. I didn't say whatever, right? Okay, so there's that one. And then Pierre Poilievre, almost to get a little bit of the opposite here. Like, there's going to be a bit of a smear campaign, and you getting that?
Yeah, like he's going to be, something's going to level him out somehow. It's
like they're going to try to like kind of, there's going to be an effect of a smear campaign there, but I think how he handles it is going to
show what he's made of.
Yeah, because we got the 10 of Cups as the sort of like the outcome there.
Yeah.
So, and it's very interesting. I mean, however you play politics, the overall feeling here is we've been bullied a lot by our politicians, right? Like, there's been a lot of bullying and like sort of wedging these narratives against each other, and the juxtaposition of all these counterpoint narratives and everything. I think they're going to be really all playing like smother us with sweetness in these next few months. It's going to be, everybody's just like trying to dole out the sweetness, and so well, that will make a difference.
Well,
right?
I think, and what Pierre does too is he really speaks to like a lot of the ways that we're being wounded, like a lot of
Poilievre, not Pierre. They're both Pierres. Pierre Trudeau and Pierre Poilievre.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Thank you. He really like focuses on like a lot of what they've done to us, like this collective wound. Like, he really focuses on like, this is the place that this guy's put us in, and so they might use that against him as the part of the smear campaign, but it's going to show, like we said, what he's really made of, and how he can really stand behind his word.
Okay, so let's usher these dudes out of here for now. And we'll bring this over to the limelight, which is taxes in Canada. Wow, what do you make for that?
New financial systems coming in. Definitely, like, there is going to be some bigger forms of reciprocity coming down the pipe. Yeah. Like, they may be launching stuff that will actually be beneficial to us in the long run.
That's what I'm getting. I'm getting tax cuts, tax breaks.
Yeah.
Because again, everything's like, things are out of the bag a lot more. Like, people are, even the not so awake people are pretty awake. Like, around, they're not going to just roll over and take it anymore, right? This is the world is a lot about up leveling. It's about, kind of at the end of a cycle and the rebirth into a new cycle. So the rebirth into a new cycle, and how long to transition away from taxes in the way we know it altogether. Well, we could say that it might be 4 to 6 more years to completely transition out of this dysfunctional system into a different system. Again, we're looking at, we need some system set up. But it feels like it's coming in a variety of ways. It's coming in through reforms, cuts, tax breaks, and people are demanding it. This, again, we're getting back to the continue to demand the changes and not just succumb to these heavier taxes and this and this and this and this and add-ons. And I just find it the whole thing with the carbon tax, it's like they're going to take it from us in one hand and they're going to give it back to us in the other hand, which is obviously about getting us set up with, being on these benefit programs and the social credit CDC programs and stuff like that. And so we're saying, no, we don't want it like that. We actually want tax reform, and we want the whole system to be revamped. We don't want you to just tax us over here and then give it back to us by setting us up on these dependency systems. We want the breaks, we want the reforms right in the tax system itself. So, yeah.
I feel like I would love to pull even 3 cards for Lisa on what will help her daughter change her life. Will she get well, and is there any hope for the future?
Perfect. Let's do that.
I feel like that's a pretty important question for.
Yeah. Okay. And I'm just going to, while you're doing that, I'm going to go over just to see, make sure we didn't.
I've been watching.
Yeah.
Thanks for bearing with us, everyone, on the questions answering here.
Pierre Polivier, now that his wife was exposed. Yeah. So again,
and that's the smear campaign. Yeah. He's going to be going through it.
We really have to wait for the election for the RV. We'll close on that one, and then I'll say something about my dream.
Okay. Yeah. I'm just going to tune in with Lisa here.
Yeah.
On your daughter.
And, we love to take mostly questions that relate to the collective, what's going on politically or metaphysically. However, we will take the odd personal question as well. So
yeah, and that's why I'll just pull 3 on them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it feels like there's maybe she's in a bit of a dark night of the soul type situation, but it's really like a kind of forced internal healing, and it's going to be really there could be emotions that really come up with it, but it brings the deeper healing that's necessary, and there is like a whole new energy and a whole new way of thinking and existing that comes forward from it.
Like compassion with this Queen of Cups in the center there. So we've got the Hermit in the past, Queen of Cups in the present, and the Ace of Swords, which is the yes card. So you asked, is she going to get better? And that would be a yes. That would be a yes.
Definitely a yes.
Yeah. And yet there's a lot of emotional healing, as Crystal said, and compassion being developed in this process, whatever it is that she's going through. So, yeah. And, just to say that Crystal is available for bookings on my website. We're going to put a link to that below this chat, this Q&A. Mm-hmm. And she does both consciousness coaching sessions, which when we do our launch in early May, we're going to be talking a little bit more about that, and she'll share with you more details about what that looks like. But she also obviously does readings, and you can book with her below, and she really specializes in working around relational family dynamics, interpersonal stuff, inner work, clearing trauma and blockages, and those are just some of her specialties. And also she's very good with reading accurately timelines and good practical answers to questions, pragmatic questions. So
Thank you, Mama.
Yeah.
Okay, so lastly, we're looking at
The RV.
the RV. Do we really have to wait for the election for the RV?
Yeah. So we'll have a look at that.
What do you think? 3.
Let's do a Kachina knife.
Okay.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Do we have to wait? Oh, yeah. We just said the yes card. Oh, interesting.
Give me a
Huh.
lot of energy being stirred up around it. Oof.
Whoa. Yeah. There's still some house cleaning happening here. Still some house cleaning going on. So yeah.
Definitely a lot of energy stirred up. Definitely waiting.
Yeah, like this is the yes card, and this is us, which is interesting because that was that middle card in the last reading. The like, it's really about. I hear the frustration and I hear the impatience because there's this feeling like, well, it could be so much better than it is. Why isn't it? Why are we being forced to wait and have things not as good as they could be? Like it's like doesn't feel efficient, right? It's like it really makes us feel like sorry for ourselves in a way. It's like it shouldn't be this hard. Why is it? We've had these. We're laughing because I think we both in our personal things just in the last week said it shouldn't be this hard. Why is it so hard? And then within 24 hours you get the answer to that, which is, oh, right, it's this hard because this is part of like we're doing it in such a way that it's going to never slip back.
Yes.
There's going to be no like just sliding back into bad patterns basically or old paradigm stuff. And so it just has to be thorough. It has to be thorough is what I'm getting. And that's this, like there's still work to be done, clearing work to be done before the RV or any version of anything similar to that. So yes, the answer is yes. We've got 2 kings here. 3, we've got 3 kings.
And the emperor.
The 3 wise men. And the emperor. Yeah, it's kind of like yeah, that's really interesting. Like the kings are all about mastery, like high levels of mastery.
There's great purpose in it. Like there's a great purpose in the amount of time that it takes and in the whole process that we're undergoing in general.
So can we stay attuned and like it's like it requires a lot of maturity to not just go into reaction around this, but we're developing character through that. And we also have to stay armored up. We have to stay fierce and vigilant and strong and determined. And something about this queen, we've got the Queen of Cups and the King of Cups, there's something about like being tested about our own resilience and our own, like, no matter what happens, it's not like if it takes longer, we're going to change our beliefs. We're not going to change our values. It's like, it doesn't matter how long it takes. We know why our stance is the way it is. We know what we value and we know why, and we're going to defend that to our last breath, no matter how long it takes.
Yeah. And as soon as this came up, I heard miles to go, which is, one of Mom's most classic sayings that do you want to speak to that just really briefly? Because it feels to me like us, like what we tend to do is shortcut to things, and we're becoming more and more of a shortcut culture. And I get reminded a lot when I feel like I'm in that space of like, even with really good stuff, like I just want to get to the good. And there's always this slowing down and being like, no matter what is happening, miles to go. It's the journey. About the journey, not the destination.
The journey, not the destination. So I mean, we are all with you, by the way. Like, we are all with you. You know, we have lots of moments in the day where it's like, I cannot stand this. It's driving me crazy. And then we go, oh yeah, right. Miles to go, miles to go. And
or like, I cannot stand this. You're driving me.
right. Miles to go, miles to go. Right. Yeah. So there's that feeling of, and I do it too, you know, like the shortcutting has been a big issue for me. I've more or less tamed that ferocious beast of impatience, and miles to go. I can never assume that I'm done, because just when I do that, the next big test comes up. So, you know, but there's something about, we will learn and we will grow into knowing ourselves better and showing up in a deeper way. And so we're going to move from this queen to the king, which isn't about hierarchy. It's about depth. It's about like, you know, coming into even more of a masterful inner resolve to stick with this, not because you're attached to an outcome, but because it matters. You care about it so much that you would never change your narrative no matter what. And that is something to honor and treasure, you know, to really tune into that part of yourself. Okay, I said I was going to talk about my dream, and I think we're going to leave it for next time, because we've gone on to we're over an hour and 10 minutes now, and yeah, it feels like it maybe is just not quite the right time, and I might know more about it by next live. So many blessings to all of you. As I mentioned before, please check the link below. You can book a session with Crystal. And obviously, you know, I've moved over to the Beyond Mystic platform, and I will also put a link to bookings with me there. And yeah, please bring Crystal back, and maybe once a month, Carmen. Awesome. That is the plan.
Yes, it is.
We are looking forward to.
Thank you so much to you all for being here with us today. And I'm so honored to be joining the.
I was just looking 11, 11, 11, 11.
Oh, that's true.
Okay, we're
I'm
going to say
stop
goodbye.
talking.
Mwah. Blessings. See you all next time. Bye for now. Oh, it's still going.